Hi, my name is Christina Anderson. I'm the watershed planner with the Regional District of Kootenay Boundary. I'm going to provide you with some boundary region drought condition updates. So I'll start with the current conditions. I will be touching on some forecasting and then tell you what do you do with this information and what does it all mean for the boundary region. So starting off with temperature and precipitation, as many of you are going to know that we had that dry spring. We did get a bit of rain, certainly in that June, which brought us almost up to the average. But we are now experiencing a heat wave across the whole province, but certainly impacting the boundary region. So this is up in 8 Mile for the Granby watershed and Beaverdale as well. So we're just seeing those really, really hot temperatures. The agroclimate interactive maps is a really nice look at what is the percentage of average over, say, a 30-day or a 90-day period. What is nice to be able to say is, what are we moving into? Like, what's our storage, water storage, as we move into these summer months? So you can see here for the 30 days, we just got a little bit more rain. Chuck's even Greenwood in the center of the boundary there is showing that average, the normal conditions. But if you look over a 90-day average, percentage of average, we're looking at about a third of our region that is below that 40% of average for precipitation. The Canadian Drought Monitor is identifying our region, which was done at the end of May, as moderate drought. And when I start comparing to what was the conditions in 2015, which was a known drought year for this region, I'm seeing that we're actually coming in May drier than we were in 2015. So something to be really conscious of as we are trying to decide what measures do we need to take to help protect us. So what are we seeing in terms of the impacts already? So these are the surface water sources. The federal government under Water Survey of Canada manages a number of discharge stations throughout the boundary region. These are just 3 of them. So we're looking at about 2-3 weeks ahead of schedule in terms of where our water levels are right now. We should be seeing this mid-July, some sort of mid to closer to the end of July. So I did identify the minimum levels. So keep in mind, this is minimum for this time of year. So certainly not minimum for the water level at these sources. So there is a fair bit relative of water in the system already. We certainly have quite a bit of water to still drop before we start getting to those really low, record low levels. And we're seeing the same thing for our US stations. We've got 2 US stations on the Kettle River, one near Ferry, which is at that Midway area, and one as the Kettle River leaves the Grand Forks in Canada again, just south of Christina Lake. Again, below average, that's that upper line there, and getting close to that minimum level for this time of year, not just affecting our surface water sources. So you have to be aware that we have 3 observation wells here in the boundary region for groundwater. And we've got quite a bit of data on the Beaverdale and the Grand Forks station. The averaging here is only of 10 years worth of that data. But as you can see, we're below average in terms of what we'd expect. Midway, we only have 2 years worth of data at that station, but again, below average to what we've had over the last 2 years. So below that 25th percentile of normal for our groundwater wells coming into this dry season. You know, why did the groundwater wells, were they affected? Again, that dry spring and this really hot temperature and the early melt. What are we seeing coming? So I just use the spot WX as a really quick look at possible forecasting and expectations for precipitation. And as you can see, we're seeing very, very little precipitation in the near future. A little bit coming up on Wednesday, but a couple of millimeters and predicting precipitation a week out is never easy. And that continued hot temperatures over the next couple of weeks. So this forecast was made at the end of May. So we're going to be seeing a new forecast for Environment Canada fairly soon here, but it is showing anticipated above average temperatures and below average for precipitation amounts over the summer months. So that's June, July, and August. So what does it all mean? So one of the things that you're going to be hearing me speak a lot about is the British Columbia Drought Information Portal. So what they have identified, the boundary region here as a level 2 drought. So there are only 4 watersheds in the boundary region right now at that level 2. We saw average, this is a Granite Creek snow automated snow pillow over here on the right-hand bottom right. And we saw average snow levels more or less until the melt period, and then it just melted fast. I know some of you are probably going to remember that really hot, just before the May long weekend temperatures really affected a lot of our snowpacks. And one of the comments I wanted to bring to light, if you are looking at the station, just to keep an eye on that top, the white circle there, just as the date of the last drought level was updated. So that's something to be aware of as we see it. One of the things the province did this year is change their drought classification system. So it used to be a 4-level system over here on the left, bottom left, and it is now a 6 classification system. So I really like the top right corner there, just doing that comparison between existing, so that would actually be pre the 4-level system to the 6-level system. So that level 2 that they've identified the boundary region station at is at very dry, which would have been similar to the early stages of our level 3. So you're going to be able to see information in the boundary region drought response plan about what do we do? What do we do with these levels? But one of the things that you're going to notice, though, is in terms of the recommendations for response, it does say recommended response should this be issued after July 1st. So understanding that the reasoning behind it is there is still water in the systems right now. If we go into a very, very dry season, which is certainly what it's starting to look like, we want to make sure that we've got watering those fruit trees, watering the plants that need to have that structure and the strength to be able to handle the fact that we may be in water shortages, some pretty significant water shortages as the months progress. So being very, very water conscious, checking for leaks in your lines, restricting that or reducing that non-essential outdoor use, thinking ahead of the time, what can you maybe set up for this summer month so that you can try to reduce that water use over the next couple of months as we progress into these hotter and drier temperatures. I will be posting updates on the Join the Conversation site, which can be accessed through the RDKB Watershed Planning website. I just added here a couple of links that I really like in terms of understanding the drought situation here in the boundary region. And by all means, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. Thank you.